In a luxury hotel in Rhode Island, a threesome is underway. Sergei Hassenfeld is happily doing sports. He loves sports, even though he is almost 40 years old, but he sweats every week. The mother-in-law at home has long lost her feelings, and as she grows older, there is more and more friction on the one hand and less friction on the other. Everyone is playing their own games now, and if they are together, they will benefit both, and if they fight, they will hurt both, as long as they don't take it home and tear their faces. Belle was playing on the rise, and the phone rang suddenly. Sergei frowned. Who the called in the middle of the night? What can't be said in the morning? It's really not eyesight. But when he glanced at the phone screen, he kicked the woman at his feet away, picked up the phone, and quickly connected it. "Uncle, what's the matter at such a late hour?" The old voice of Hasbro CEO Alan Hasenfield rang on the other end of the phone. "Sergei, what's going on? Tell me what's going on." "What? What are you talking about?" "Just now, MGM announced the director of Transformers." "Ah, idiot. What are you dreaming about? It's Eric Cooper." Sergei Hasenfeld was stunned for a moment. "Who? I haven't heard of this director." "Wait. You mean that Eric Cooper? Who else but him?" "That's wrong, Uncle. How can he be a director?" "We talked about it. He graduated from UCLA. That school didn't have a film major. He studied finance." Patience on the other end of the phone was obviously exhausted. "Sergei, do you think I will joke with you without sleeping in the middle of the night?" Shouted in a cold sweat. Sergei hurriedly said, "Uncle, don't be angry. I'll contact MGM immediately and tell them that this is a stupid decision. I will persuade them to change their decision. This is Transformers, not a small movie for the rich second generation who lie. It's too late. You can't reach Cooper and Son, because even I can't. I want you to fly to Los Angeles immediately and change this decision by any means and quickly, or Hasbro's stock price will plummet." "Don't worry, Uncle, I'll go now." "Well, I hope it's just a misunderstanding." Alan Hassenfeld's concern is not unreasonable, because the stock market has always been unpredictable, because one piece of news can go crazy, and it can also go crazy because of a single news. This is especially true when the stock price is related to the movie industry, where Hasbro's stock price can rise because of Transformers, and it will also hit back to square one because of Transformers. The decisive factor for all this is the quality of the film and a 22-year-old young man, a rich second generation in the eyes of the public, or someone who has never been exposed to film-related knowledge, should direct a $150 million blockbuster production. In the eyes of the public, this is as outrageous as letting a pig drive a spaceship. It's not that there are no genius directors, but those genius directors who have become famous often have worked hard for more than 10 years behind the scenes. What do you, Eric Cooper, have? You only have a good dad. Moreover, just a few months ago, the stock market bubble brought about by the internet ended, and the general environment has just improved, which is the time when the ability to resist risks is the weakest. In this dangerous environment, as long as there is a little wind and grass, it is guaranteed that those shareholders will run away collectively. And after announcing this good news, Cooper and his son went to rest. As for the phone, of course, it was turned off, and at this time, the King of Heaven came and ignored it. Early the next morning, Eric boarded a flight to Park City, Utah, and today was the opening day of the Sundance Film Festival. If you look at it in the past, you may be able to pan for gold in, and more importantly, you can avoid trouble. As for Dad, an old fritter like him will have his own way. The New York Stock Exchange, ranked first among the world's stock exchanges in 2003 and has a market capitalization of more than $10 trillion, is one of the world's financial centers. At 9:30 a.m., as the broader market opened, a lot of eyes were focused on the S&P 500. The S&P 500 is a stock index that records 500 publicly traded companies in the United States, covering a wide range of industries and sectors, and Hasbro is located in it. The stock market crash has just ended, And now almost all stocks are in a slow recovery, not growing much, but the trend is still good. After all, the market's confidence also needs to be slowly restored. In the almost green market, only a few companies have a red line chart, and Hasbro is precisely the most ruthless one. Since that press conference, Hasbro's stock has been rising, and tens of thousands of shareholders are staring at MGM and Hasbro to take advantage of the dividends. But the news in the early hours of the morning directly confused the market, and MGM must be crazy to let a 22-year-old rich second-generation director in the film and television industry who has never been in contact with it. Many investors who have been frightened by the stock market crash and are not determined have begun to sell. In fact, the psychology of these leaks is very simple. Hasbro's stock price has risen for a while, and they have also made a small profit, and now they are selling it at a high level, at least making a steady profit. If you wait until the situation is seriously stopped, it will really be crying if you want to cry, and the army of homeless people will have to add a lot of members. However, those who are selling now are all timid. Most people are still in the wait-and-see stage, and the general psychology of the public is that MGM has sent the wrong information, and it will definitely be corrected soon. In Beverly Hills, Cooper's house welcomed an uninvited guest early in the morning, and Sergei Hassenfeld came to the door. Trotting all the way to the door of the villa, Sergei pressed the doorbell a little breathlessly. After waiting for a while, the babysitter opened the door. "Is Mr. Cooper at home?" "I'm sorry, sir. Who are you?" "I'm Sergei Hassenfeld, CEO of Hasbro, and I'm going to meet Charlie Cooper, and I have something very important." The little nanny shook her head. "Sorry, sir. Mr. Cooper fell ill and was rushed to the hospital last night." "What?" Sergei looked confused. "Which hospital?" "I don't know. Maybe you should call him yourself."
Bang!
The villa gate is closed. Sergei is messy in the wind, and if I can contact someone, I'm still going to block the door. The phone rings. Sergei answered with a trembling voice, and immediately there was an angry roar from the other side. "Have you found someone?" "I'm sorry, Uncle. Charlie Cooper is sick. I think maybe he was angry with his son. I suspect that MGM is in chaos right now. It was Eric Cooper who talked to us all the time, and Charlie Cooper only showed up for the last signing, which I think might involve a power struggle between father and son." Other end of the phone continued to explode. "Don't speculate with your stupid brain. I want the facts." "I want the facts. Find me in one day and ask him to change the decision." The stock price has already started to fall. Okay, I will. Don't worry, Uncle." Shit. Hung up the phone. Sergei angrily threw the phone on the ground. Lao Tzu's leg was about to break. "You don't know how to yell at me. I've made so much money as a cow and a horse for you all these years. What's wrong with making a mistake?" However, after scolding a few words to vent, Sergei could only continue to think of a way, and his speculation just now was completely based on himself. Who wants to have an old guy above their heads? Utah. Today is the opening day of the Sundance Film Festival. The Sundance Film Festival, or more precisely, the Independent Film Festival, is a festival dedicated to independent films. Everyone knows that independent films have a small investment and many times take the artistic route rather than the commercial route, which makes it difficult for this kind of film to be distributed, and it is even more difficult to return to its original cost. And in order not to let the good movies be buried, the Sundance Film Festival was born. There have been many well-known directors here, such as the Coen brothers, Christopher Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, etc., which is a veritable Hollywood hematopoietic machine. This year's festival lasts for 10 days, and Eric is on his way to Park City, a town of just over 10,000 inhabitants that doesn't have an airport. Phone rang, and it was another, more personal number, and few people knew about it.
Hey, Elena.
"Little one, is this your plan?" I woke up to a 5% drop in Hasbro's stock price. Eric frowned. "It's only 5 percentage points? So little?" It seems that the market is still very optimistic about me as a director, huh? What are you thinking? Even I know that this is completely unreliable. One reason why the stock price has not fallen is because someone is protecting the disc. Don't think about it. It must be the Hasenfeld family. Another reason is that because the news has been out so short of time, a lot of people are in a wait-and-see mode. Maybe they think it's just fake news. I see. You want me to make things bigger, right? Elena said hurriedly. Otherwise, I'm the kind that lends money to you in violation of the law, enough to send me to prison. You must not let me down, Eric Cooper. Across the phone, Eric could feel the other party's emotions and hurriedly comforted. Don't worry, this impulsive tone is not like the woman I know. Right now I'm on my way to the Sundance Film Festival, which is the opening ceremony today, and there's a gathering of entertainment media from all over the US, and they're all bloodthirsty sharks that will help us make things bigger. The gasp on the other end of the phone calmed down. I hope so. More than. Half an hour later, the taxi arrived at its destination, and in the snowy town a huge venue was fenced off, and inside it was a screening room, and countless heads were crowding into it, including movie fans from all over the country. Phew! A breath of white air erupted. Eric took off his hat and mask. It was a little colder, but in order to let the media better capture himself, he was wronged. I directly chose to buy a pass, $2,000, which ordinary people really can't afford, and usually buy which one they want to see. Looking at the hundreds of movie titles in the manual, Eric began to look for what he was familiar with, and then on the second page he saw a movie, Leland's America. Although the director is not very famous, there are several familiar names among the leading actors: Don Cheadle, Ryan Gosling, and Michelle Williams. Don Cheadle is the black man who played the War Machine in Iron Man, not the first one. He debuted for more than 10 years and has a certain reputation in the film industry, although he is certainly not as good as Denzel Washington and Will Smith, but he is also a relatively well-known black movie star. Needless to say, Ryan Gosling and Michelle Williams are both more potential among the younger generation of Hollywood. The former is now being touted and auditioned for Transformers some time ago. Having chosen his target, Eric heads straight to the theater of Leland's America, and in a moment the movie will begin, and if nothing else, he will be able to run into several media outlets. After following the flow of people for a while, I found the theater in a good location, and after walking into it, sure enough, a small press conference was being held here. There are not many media, only 7 or 8, so it was okay, and Eric directly found a front seat and sat down. Everywhere he went, he was unforgettable, like a shining star, and the moment he arrived, Ryan Gosling's eyes followed. Eric Cooper, it's him. Why is he here? Is he interested in my films? With this in mind, Ryan Gosling nodded at Eric during the interview, and Eric smiled and saluted him back. This strange behavior naturally aroused the interest of others, and the eyes of several people looked at it at the same time, and the media naturally followed suit. The creators of the movie may not know Eric's identity, but they just think that this young man is very handsome. The media was different, instantly like a shark smelling blood, surrounding Eric in the middle, for fear that he would run away. Mr. Eric, is it true that you're going to be the director of Transformers? Mr. Cooper, can you reply to that message in the early morning? Is it MGM's mistake? Mr. Cooper, you're going to be a director. Is it true or not? Seeing the enthusiastic appearance of these reporters, and then looking at their unsalty attitude towards themselves just now, the director and the actors are not in their hearts. This is our home turf. Eric motioned for everyone to be quiet. I'll answer your questions, but after the movie is over, it's an excellent work, gathering excellent directors and actors. Let's focus on them first, okay? After speaking, he leaned back in his seat and stopped talking, and the media didn't want to ask any more when he saw this. Anyway, Eric Cooper had already promised, so it would be better to wait until the end of the movie. And the reason why Eric didn't want to answer was of course one of them. And the main reason was that there were too few media present, and they were all tabloids and not enough influence. But as long as the news of his presence here spreads, it is guaranteed that after the movie is over, the reporter will flood the theater. Let the bullets fly for a while. Seeing that the attention of the media returned to him, he was also a lot more enthusiastic, and the director and actors couldn't help but feel grateful in their hearts. Others are weird. Before I knew it, more than an hour later, the movie ended. Eric applauded with the few audience members. Although it was a literary film, the quality was not bad. After the creators came to the stage to thank them, the audience began to leave. Then the director took Ryan Gosling and other main actors to Eric. There are not many opportunities to meet this kind of big guy. No one wants to miss it. Maybe the movie buyer is him. However, the media moved clearly faster than theirs, and in addition to the original 7 tabloid reporters, dozens of media outlets seemed to suddenly appear and block Eric in the middle from all sides. In an instant, the long guns and short cannons almost slammed into his face, and the main creators of the movie stood in place awkwardly. Park City, Sundance Film Festival scene. Leland's America is no longer cared about, and the media attention at this time is all on Eric Cooper. I came to the film festival routinely, but I didn't expect to catch a big fish, and the reporters felt that a certain point on their bodies was ebb and flow. Be quiet. I know what you want to ask. Come one by one, I'll answer. Everyone else shut up. First of all, yes, it's you. Reporter who was named looked excited. Hello, Mr. Cooper. I'm from the Chicago Herald. May I ask if the news announced by MGM in the early morning is true or false? Of course it's true. There's nothing to doubt about it, Eric said without hesitation. All the reporters exclaimed at the same time, and what followed was ecstasy, and sure enough, it was big news. Mr. Cooper, you studied finance, but you don't seem to have any exposure to the directing business. What made you want to be a director? Do you really have the confidence to direct Transformers? It's a big production. Eric laughed. No one is born a director, but everyone can be a director, can't they? A lot of people can shoot video with a DV and an 8mm camera, like Blair the Witch. You can't deny that it's a successful movie, can you? Yeah. And I really didn't learn about directing, but Cameron is still a truck driver, and he didn't shoot Titanic anyway. Looking at Eric's confident appearance, the reporters almost couldn't hold back their laughter. Do you really dare to compare? James Cameron is an average director? He's the king of the world. If Titanic can be filmed easily, why is there only this one in 100 years? And it is a bit of a big problem to be able to say such things. Many reporters remembered the $700 million box office rhetoric released by Eric at the original press conference. Mr. Cooper, that means you think that if you direct Transformers yourself, you can make $700 million at the box office, right? That's right. I'm very confident in myself, and I'm very confident in the brand Transformers. We are a strong combination. $700 million is not a problem at all. Hearing the words strong alliance, the reporter of the Los Angeles Entertainment News asked loudly, Mr. Cooper, are you playing with tickets for this performance, or are you going to go on the road of directing all the time? Well, I think it's going to keep going. It's a fun job. It's creative but not boring. I still like it. It's fun. So you want to be a director because it's fun? Doesn't everything start with a hobby? And who are you targeting? Spielberg, Martin Scorsese, James Cameron, or Ridley Scott? After a pause, Eric looked into the distance. I'm not going to be anybody, and I don't want to imitate anyone. So, why can't I be the one to be imitated? After being blocked for almost an hour and satisfying the group of gossip reporters, Eric got out. The interview in the morning, although the print media will not be published until tomorrow, but at the speed of this group of paparazzi, the online information will flow out in the afternoon, otherwise you won't be able to eat in time. Leaving the theater, Eric doesn't plan to stay here anymore. The goal has been achieved. It's better for him to hide. If someone can't find his father, they will definitely come to him. It was already close to noon, and the flow of people was still very large, so he looked left and right to see that there were no reporters, lowered his hat, and stepped on the snow. Eric blended into the crowd. After walking for a while, it was not until I left the area that the feeling of crowding disappeared. Moving on, Eric couldn't help but miss the days when he had navigation. He was the first time to come to Park City, and this time it was inconvenient to take Chinxing with him, and he didn't know where to find a better hotel. After all, a town of more than 10,000 people suddenly poured into more than 100,000 people, and it was really difficult to find a few locals on the road. Hey, what are you asking? Maybe I can help you. You've been turning for a long time. A voice rang out behind him, and Eric looked back to see a handsome blonde girl standing behind him, smiling at him. As he questioned the passerby, Eric noticed that she had been following him for a while. But Eric didn't care. After all, there are more than 100,000 people gathered here, and the town is so big, it is normal to be on the same road. But in retrospect, that doesn't seem to be the case. Yes, I want to find a place to eat and rest after eating. Do you know where there are more high-end hotels? The girl nodded. Of course I know, and that's exactly what I need. Let's go together. How about it? Are you a local? Eric thought that the other party was soliciting, although this type of solicitation is rarely seen in the United States. No, I'm here for the film festival just like you, but I'm actually an actor. Hearing this, Eric was instantly alert and asked in a critical tone, Who are you? What do you want to do? The girl did not hide it. Kala Savini, a person who is interested in you, a person who is looking for an opportunity. After saying that, he took the initiative to extend his hand to Eric. The other party's honesty made Eric discouraged. What can an actor do if he has his eyes on him? And when he heard the name, the other party's message also came to his mind. Kala Savini is indeed a well-known actor, or more accurately, an actor with unequal awards and fame. Because Don't Look at This Girl is only in her 20s, but she has already won the Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress by playing a lace edge. However, it is not 20 years later, and sports such as LGBT are not thriving, so even if she was nominated for Supporting Actress, Colorado Savini's development did not go smoothly, and she still couldn't get a good role. And one of the things that Eric impressed her the most before the crossing should be that she openly expressed her dislike for her eldest cousin Jennifer Lawrence, saying that the other party was too contrived. You must know that it was the hottest time for Jennifer Lawrence at that time, and it was a personality to dare to say such things. Suddenly, Kala Savini grabbed Eric's hand. Come with me. I've been in Park City for a few days and I'm familiar with this place. Wait, ma'am. Are you all selling yourself like this? So what? I don't care, after all. Now you're in my hands. So, what do you want to take me to eat? Kolo Savini winked at Eric. Of course, it's the tastiest thing. What? Me. Sweetwater Manor, located on the edge of Park City, is more of a resort than a hotel. These are all single-family villas, similar to the kind rented in Sanya, and if a family comes over, they can live as a family. Eric soaked in the indoor hot spring, completely cut off from the cold outside, and the foggy area was full of enjoyment. Suddenly, his expression tightened, his brow furrowed, and after a moment he relaxed again. Few seconds later, a woman emerged from the hot spring, and Kala Savini shook her hair and licked the white of the corners of her mouth. Do you like my service? Eric pinched her chin. You can be in the top 3. Lying on the couch watching TV, Kolo Savini was cooking in the kitchen, and the only thing that made Eric depressed was that there was no computer in the villa. But now the news should not have broken out, and the bullets will fly for a while, but there is no hurry. After a few clicks on the remote control, the screen switched to NBC TV, and the familiar 6-person group instantly came into view. When he encounters troubles, when he is a little bored, Eric always likes to watch Friends, and every time he sees the six, he can't help but laugh out loud, just like seeing the star. The 11th episode of the fourth season is being replayed on TV, and it is also the source of Monica Severn's famous scene. In the picture, Chandler is turning to Rachel and Monica for help because of his lack of confidence in his abilities. Off the screen, Carla Savini came over with a plate. "Try the pie I made. My friends say it's delicious." "Oh, you're looking at Friends, and it looks like we have another hobby in common." He hooked his fingers and motioned for Carla Savini to sit next to him, and their eyes were fixed on the TV screen at the same time. I saw Monica take out a drawing board. The woman has 7 sensitive belts on her body. Chandler looked shocked. 7? Monica handed the sketch pad to her future husband and looked at it, and the other party was shocked again. "This is also counted?" "Of course, it's quite important, sorry. I took it the other way around." Rachel took advantage of the situation to expose XP. "Actually, it's not bad to take it backwards." Finding that the eyes of both of them fell on him, he smiled awkwardly. "First of all, you're going to have a 1. And then 123. Then attack 5. Don't let go of 6. You have to do a good combination. 347, 254, 156, 56, and then 47. The more Monica spoke, the more wrong her expression became. Finally, crazy attack 7. Severn. 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 Outside the TV, the plate fell to the floor with a clatter, and Carla Savini rolled his eyes and shouted, "Severn." Half an hour later, she collapsed on the couch and muttered, "You knocked over my pie. It's the food I cooked carefully." Eric patted her on the ass. "Didn't I already compensate you?" At 3:00 in the afternoon, Eric woke up from his bed. Carla Savini had already left, and she still had to promote the film, but she would be back when it was over, and she would be reluctant to leave for at least 10 days at the Sundance Film Festival. He took out his phone and dialed Elena's number. There was a beep, and the other side was instantly connected. "Eric Cooper, my little darling, I was just about to call you. What kind of magic did you use?" Hasbro's stock has started to fall again, and now it's down more than 7%. Haha. "I'm not saying, let you follow the entertainment news. I was interviewed in the morning, and it seems that the influence has spread. By the way, I don't have a computer here, and it's not convenient to go out. Can you help me see what those paparazzi are reporting?" The phone hung up, and soon a large number of MMS messages were sent. The New York Times. Eric Cooper appeared at the Sundance Film Festival in response to the Transformers controversy. Eric nodded. A very decent title. No grandstanding, but when he continued to read, his face darkened. Tylian Chicago. A boring game of a rich second generation. He will ruin Transformers.
Los
Angeles Times. 700 million box office binge. A child who wants to be a big director. ABC Online. The future of Transformers is uncertain, and fans' expectations will be disappointed. CBS Entertainment News. Genius director or spoiled child? Eric Cooper insists on directing Transformers. In addition, there are many unknown gossip tabloids which give full play to the ability of brain supplementation, and the content of the report is even more off-track. In the new MGM power struggle, whose hands are the reins of the lion held? Family infighting, peeking into MGM's internal feud from Transformers, who is the winner. Insiders revealed that MGM's management was chaotic and signs of division were emerging. Looking at the out-of-tune titles, Eric was amused and speechless. Although the muddier the water, the greater the impact on the market, but I am afraid that I will have to carry this big black pot for a while. Before Eric could finish reading it, Elena's phone call came again. "Little one, what the hell did you say? These media are making you miserable." Eric sneered. "Are you satisfied?" Elena giggled. You're angry, come to New York, and I'll serve you comfortably. Hee hee, are you waiting? I almost got cut off. Hee hee, I'm not worried that there won't be a next time. Of course I have to wipe you off as a handsome little guy, and when you come next time, I'll make it up to you. How? Secrecy. Women have to keep a little mystery forever, you know? Hanging up, Eric continued to watch the TV. HBO was playing Band of Brothers, and David Schwimmer was letting out a hideous roar. You can hardly imagine that this is Ross from Friends. David's acting skills are undoubtedly the strongest of the six, but unfortunately, after the end of Friends, he gradually became transparent in Hollywood. Several movies have not had a great response, and the ratings of new dramas are also dismal, which is usually the fate of those popular actors. A drama has been on the air for 10 years and 8 years, and the characters have been finalized, and the audience thinks of Ross when they see you. Except for George Clooney, none of them have successfully transformed. Watching the TV series, Eric's mind turned to HBO itself. Now it is not the overlord that occupies half of the subscriptions in the United States, and there are few dramas that can be played under his hands, but he is really willing to spend money, which can be seen from the investment of $120 million in Band of Brothers. HBO. Maybe it's not bad to sell The Walking Dead to it. AMC definitely can't compete with it. Chandler is really dead, and old friends are hard to get together, alas. On January 18th, even though the Hasenfeld family tried desperately to protect the disc, a large number of media reports still broke the confidence of many shareholders. At 4 p.m. that day, Hasbro's stock price had fallen 10% by the time it closed, and it experienced 2 circuit breakers in between. Fortunately, it lasted until the market closed in the afternoon, otherwise it would have fallen even harder. But that's where it goes. After the news of the Transformers movie was announced, Hasbro's stock has been growing by 21% in a few months. In addition, now the news is only spread on the internet, and the print media has not yet made a force. And most of the people who speculate in stocks are office workers, and some people are still relatively new to surfing the internet. So the shock hasn't really had its full power yet, and by tomorrow, it's foreseeable that Hasbro's stock price will continue to fall. When the morning rises towards Leon, newspapers across the United States are reaching every household, and the news in the entertainment section has always been a favorite gossip for people during breakfast, and the interview about Eric naturally jumped into their eyes. There is nothing to say. When the New York Stock Exchange opened at 9:30, Hasbro's stock price began to fall again, and the shareholders who were holding on to not selling yesterday were also panicking. A few hours later, the glaring red graph had jumped down a few times and fused again. At this time, the stock price has reached $30.30 per share, almost the same as a few months ago. At Sweetwater Manor, Eric is lying in bed enjoying Kala Savini's service. Eric, Sergei Hasenfeld can't find me. He will definitely look for you. I think he must have arrived in Park City. I'm afraid he is asking about your whereabouts, and now they are in a hurry. Don't worry, Dad. I'm hiding in a safe place. He can't find me, and even if he finds it, he can't do anything with me. Everyone is a person with status, and he won't be like a gangster who doesn't follow the rules. Well, anyway, be careful. Now that Hasbro's stock price has fallen back to square one, even if they talk about the rules again, I'm afraid that they will even have the heart to eat it this time. Ha ha ha, I'm just a spoiled kid who wants to fulfill his dream of directing. That's what the media says. He should blame those gossip tabloids. Speaking of this, Charlie Cooper's voice was a little worried, and asked tentatively, "By the way, speaking of which, are those interviews of yours joking?" Eric knew that no one believed that he could be a director, and even his father thought it was just a ploy. After all, normal people would think like this. If there is one person in this world who trusts himself unconditionally, I am afraid that there is only my mother. This lovely woman will support her in whatever she does without reservation. Of course not. We have to do what we say. Even if it's really a game, we have to play it to the end. Otherwise, Sergey and Alan are afraid that they will really stab us with knives. But what are you going to do? It's a $150 million production after all, Eric, and it's not child's play. Dad, have you forgotten? I've hired the assistant director and several assistants, and I'm a noon on the set, and they'll help me do it. Other end of the line breathed a sigh of relief. Now that you have a plan, I won't ask about the movie, and I expect Hasbro's stock price to continue to fall by a few % tomorrow, but it's almost over, and I'm ready to close the internet cafe. How much can we use now? $1.1 billion, that's the maximum, and we still have to set aside funds for this year's project. After all, this money has been invested, and it won't be effective until at least the end of the year. 1.1 billion again. That seems to be my lucky number. Oops. Eric, what's wrong with you? Nothing, bitten by a mosquito. Dad, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to fight mosquitoes. On the other end of the line was Charlie Cooper's puzzled voice. Are there any mosquitoes at this time? Yes, a big mosquito. And what do you use to fight? On January 20th, the New York Stock Exchange, a new round of the market opened, and as expected, Hasbro's stock price continued to fall. However, the rate of decline has slowed down significantly today, and it continued like this until noon, when it fell by 6%, and it seems that it has bottomed out. As the clock ticked down, the rate of decline slowed down further until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, rising and falling like a wavy line, and after a 6.6 percentage point decline, it seemed to have an upward momentum. Immediately after that, the graph began to rise slowly, and after half an hour, it rose by 1.5 percentage points. Then the upward momentum began to gradually increase, and by the time it was 3 p.m., Hasbro's stock price had been pulled back to a position close to the original point, and the graph was shaking more exciting than the heart rate chart. In this case, it is obvious that someone is protecting the disc, and the public naturally thinks of the Havenfield family. Maybe there are really them here, but the role of the Cooper family is obviously greater. How many retail investors throw? Charlie Cooper secretly directs how much to eat, and the current price is much lower than a few days ago. In just a few hours, he has fired more than $600 million in bullets. But in the stock market, there is a saying that confidence is more important than gold, and after the confidence of shareholders falls, it is not so simple to come back. At this time, there are still many retail investors selling, and the idea of these people is also very simple. I don't sell now. What if the stock price falls again? Will the market give me a second chance? It was already past 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and less than an hour later, the time for the market to close arrived. And if the stock price will fall tomorrow and the bullets of the main force will run out, no one will come to protect the disc, and it may lose a little if it sells now, but it may lose more tomorrow. So half an hour before the market closed, the graph began to fluctuate rapidly until it was close to 4 o'clock, and the funds in Charlie Cooper's hands were completely exhausted. The entire $1.1 billion was smashed in, and Hasbro's stock price was finally pulled back to square one, and even rose by 2%. And these $1.1 billion stocks, when converted, account for about 16% of Hasbro's market capitalization. In other words, if the Cooper family pooled all these scattered stocks into their own hands, the Cooper family would most likely become the second largest shareholder of Hasbro. As for the issue of paying taxes in the process, of course, it is to use the form of gifts and use the exemption amount to achieve reasonable tax avoidance. As the closing bell rang and the stock market game ended, Cooper and his son had a phone call. "Don't worry, Dad, I know. It's time for me to perform again. We'll see tomorrow."